Alright, welcome to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Individual Experience. Leaving the house a little late. Went to bed around a little after 5. So I had to make sure that I got enough sleep. And before I head outside, you know, the way they've been attacking me, I got to make sure I have at least get enough rest. Also, you know, in the terms of how they attack me, you know, again, New York Predators Department, you know, had me on the remote neural monitoring. I was still sleeping. You know, I woke up, didn't quite open up my eyes because, like I said, I was still tired. And I was listening to an audiobook, you know, Joe Macy, Egypt, the Light of the World. And it gives you a history on how Kemetic spiritual system and Kemetic mythology shape all religions of the world. All right, so it's something that, you know, I listen to. Like I said, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. As you know, not able to read like I used to read because of the target and because of the remote neural monitoring. So the New York Predator Department, you know, again, had me on the remote neural monitoring. There were certain things that the narrator said as he was reading listen to what the narrative says. And one of it sound like, you know, like I said, it's weird how, not weird, but when certain things are said, certain words that sound similar to other words or phrases, they will use the sirens. Anything to be like, if for example, you know, I got you, right? I always say, I got them. Because whenever the word I got you say, you know, people say, I got you, you know, they will use the sirens. So I start saying, I got you back, right? And then when they have me on the neural monitoring and I'm thinking certain things are being said, they'll use the sirens and I will be like, yeah, I got y'all. And then they'll use the sirens afterwards. You know, again, they're trying to escape their criminality and their criminal behavior, their criminal conduct. And like I said, this is what they do, right? The remote neural monitoring, the illegal microchipping of human beings without their consent for the purpose of remote neural monitoring, also for their agenda. And their agenda to do what? Is to microchip everyone. See, people, you know, Negropeans want to believe that there isn't a microchip for them also, right? But there is, if they have not already been chipped, right? If they have not already been chipped, and this is something that you have to understand. So when they want to engage in this sort of behavior, you know, she was looking up at the window of the building, so I started looking up at the window also. You know, I'm gonna always win. So it doesn't matter what they do. And then also, you know, I went onto my Facebook, not my original Facebook page. They disabled that one. You know, so hey, it is what it is. In the attempt to try to silence me, so I basically had to have my my backup account. So that will become my main account. I have to upload a lot of my memes, my photos and stuff like that, videos, onto that page. And if they, you know, like I said, I have to find an alternative social media platform in which they cannot engage in this censorship, right, and so forth. So I'm, you know, my other Facebook account, my backup account, what does that look like? Right? What does that look like? New Jersey plates too. Look. Pan here, like that looks like Pandora. Pandherr. I was just talking about that, right? Look, and as I walk past, you look up at the window of the house. See, right? Panderer, panhandle. You know, like I talked about yesterday when I went to the kitchen. Pam doing this. All right. So again, this is what is called reinforcement of their programming, right? KZL 3324. See that? I gotta tell you, another vehicle. You know, when I talk about this stuff, what's she doing over there? You know, another vehicle, never seen before. That one I've seen. That's LZZ 3290. This one though, no. KZL 3324, number 32. So they will always find vehicles with that number. And I talk about that number being a psychological branding, right? Kind of like, you know, the Nazis and, you know, the number that was tattooed onto the European Jews during the European Jewish genocide, right? People call it Holocaust, but it's not a Holocaust, right? It's not a Holocaust. A Holocaust, if you understand what a Holocaust is, you would stop using that word, right? Because a Holocaust means a burnt offering to God, right? Now look, now you'll see, again, now I talk about how they will always have a Sambo, right? A Sambo or a Sambina to engage us. Look, he comes out looking. Everybody talk about, because it's cold outside, you know, it's raining. Look, everybody they got a sweater on or a jacket on, right? Well, except for this guy, but he got a long sleeve shirt on, so all right. But yeah. But yeah, when you see stuff like that, again, if you're a TI, stuff like that's out of the ordinary. And it's out of the ordinary in a sense because it is not calling, you know, black people. But black people ain't coming outside with no shirt on in 45-degree weather. You know what I'm saying? They coming outside in shorts, unless, you know, you talk about, you know, those Negropeans that have this mindset that they see white people do it, so they want to do it too. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, to get themselves sick, right? You know, it's important that we understand what it is that they do and how they do it, so we can expose them, right? And we can continue to expose them. Right, you gotta laugh, but anyhow, you got the give me the nod. You got the hat on with the Grenadian flag on it. Oh yeah. So anyhow, back to the New York Predator Department. All right. So again, have me on the remote monitor, listening to the audiobook, and there's certain words that is being said, right? That sounds, you know, got them, got him, got her. You know, you're the champion. They start using the sirens. You know, a word like increase, you know, forward, positive, right? Any positive affirming words or phrases. Any words that have to, any financial words, you know, payments, you know what I'm saying, like stuff like that. The lottery, you know what I'm saying? Any millions, grands, you know, hundreds of thousands, trillions, billions. Whenever those words are said, the New York Predator Department will start using these sirens. You know what I'm saying? Because that is who they are. They have violated my rights and the rights of everyone. And the fact that they create false narrative using cognitive warfare narrative, using pressure persuasion programming to justify the violation of people's rights, to justify them microchipping people. And again, it's an agenda. Like I said, people will soon find out. Right? People will soon find out exactly what we as TIs have been saying for decades. But like I said, ain't nothing that they're not doing that they have not planned decades ago. Decades ago. Okay? If you go and read the book, what is it? Agenda. Go and read Agenda 20. What is it? Agenda 25 or something like that. But there's a book called 2025. It was written. It was a study that was done by the Pentagon, the CIA, corporate America, the military-industrial complex, and they predict certain things, and that prediction is based on their plans, their actions, what it is that they were going to do by the year 2025. And here's the thing, most of those things that they talk about happen, right? So imagine people with knowledge reading these books and seeing these agenda played out in front of their very eyes. And most people don't know. They'll say, oh, he's a prophet. He's this. No, he just has information. And by the way, the word prophet did not originate from biblical belief. The word prophet originated from those who had knowledge, right? The people with the knowledge, right? Who were able to teach, who were able to see things. Right? The people who were wealthy, right? Because they control the society, they ran the society, and they implement their policies, their action, how they want society to go forward, right? So they call them prophets, but they're not prophets. See, when people have inside information, right? It's like you have insider trading, meaning that you are given information, right? Whether you should have it or you shouldn't have it, the fact is that you were given information about certain things to come, right? Now let's talk about the weather. We can predict the weather based on what? Based on a series of criteria that when we look at nature, we look at weather patterns, right? We can predict with almost certainty, right? We can predict with almost certainty whether it's going to rain or not, whether it's going to snow or not, whether there's going to be a hurricane or not, right? The only thing that we cannot truly predict with almost certainty is tornadoes, okay? But we can also, well actually I'm wrong about that, because we can predict the seasons in which tornadoes happen. What you looking back for? Always I can tell you, they'll always send their Sambos and Sambinas, right? They'll always send their Sambos and stick up in her ears. Again, using teenage girls. You know what I'm talking about? Using teenage girls to act as if, to engage in certain type of, nonsense, I should say. Feeling good? All right, so understand what it is that they do and how they do it. All right? And like I said, the fact is that how do they get access to these children? Right? They keep looking back. How they get access to these children? Okay? So when I talk about the religious fanatics and their parents who are religious fanatics who will engage in using their children, to traumatize their children, right? To make all sorts of horrible decisions and lies. This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly, the fact that they're behaving in the way that they are behaving. But anyhow, right? So like I said, with almost certainty, right? We can predict certain things. You can say, well, back in the days when you had people who study weather patterns, right? What do they do? Right? Back in the days, but you have certain people, whether the Native American call them shaman, in Africa, they made whatever name they call them.
That was, we walking?
whatever name they call them, you know, they will say, well, you know, they got magic. It's not magic. It's not magic. It's knowledge. It's observation, understanding. It's recognizing patterns, right? Recognizing patterns, knowing certain things, right? In Europe, when the European women used the recipes that was passed down to them through their mothers in picking certain herbs to heal, right? They call them witches, right? When they had knowledge, they call them witches. So they have, the European mind have always, as I said, the white European mind have always seek to limit the knowledge of the majority of people. Yes, you had schooling and universities, right? Because we go through a period in which people become more enlightened, people become more understanding. But you see today how we are going backwards. And the reason why we are going backwards is because these people who've always been in position of power and those who they recruit to become are they're like a cult, right? So they, you don't choose to join them, they choose you, right? We talk about this all the time, right? And how some people are promoted, some of them, based on their hard work, others based on the fact that they can be used as a tool, okay? So, again, understanding these things. Now, I want you to see what it is that they do, right? So they'll send these young people to engage in targeting, right? This is what they'll do, right? And I want you to understand, this is the mindset of the mothers, right? Because the mothers will use their daughters against men because they hate men, right? Mothers will use their daughters against, and their sons, right? So this is what they do. And this is the behavior, the sick behavior within the society to try to label you or to try to discredit you because the fact that they microchip you and they don't want to be held responsible or be accountable for what it is that they've done. Okay, good. Go to the website psychologicalharassment.com. Okay, and you will see exactly what it is that I talk about. You will see exactly what it is that I talk about. Look. You will see exactly what it is that I talk about. So, the two things they try to trigger me with: the water bottle and the Newport cigarettes. Right? Now, why Newport? the color, right? I'm not talking about brands being used. So Newport, brands, colors, symbols. All right, so understanding what it is that they do. Now, look at that. On a Sunday, raining, and you see all these young people are out. Let me tell you, when it's raining, and I was a teenager, we ain't coming outside. We in the house playing video games. We watching television. Okay? But like I said, when they use people within the society, within the community to try to discredit you, to create this false narrative, you got to learn to expose them and see what it is that they do and how they do it. Okay? And why do they use young people? Right? Because young people are easily manipulated by their parents, by adults, particularly those within the churches, and law enforcement. Like I said, law enforcement is some of the biggest criminals, the biggest sociopaths and psychopaths. Most, I should say.
How are you?